Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. NBC anchor Savannah Guthrie puts out another plea for the return of her mother, Nancy Guthrie, where the FBI and local authorities are with the case. Secretary of State Marco Rubio in Hungary today meeting with Prime Minister Viktor Orban. Rubio discussed the Russia-Ukraine war, China, and signed a key cooperation deal with Budapest. The Trump administration planning to transform how the U.S. sells weapons to allies, how the America First arms transfer strategy will work. The future of the Hudson Tunnel project is still in jeopardy. President Trump on what he plans to do about the project. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says the FDA will review a petition challenging ultra-processed foods with 70% of Americans either obese or overweight. In the heart of Rome, a Renaissance palace guards its secrets. Now a museum, it unveils ancient treasuries once owned by the city's noble families. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. The FBI says there have been definitive updates in the case of Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. NBC anchor Savannah Guthrie posting once again on Instagram, pleading for her mother's return. Here's the latest.
NBC anchor Savannah Guthrie Sunday posting another video to Instagram 2 weeks after her mother Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. Savannah Guthrie once again asked whoever might have taken her mother to release her.
It's been 2 weeks since our mom was taken, and I just wanted to come on and say that we still have hope, and we still believe. And I wanted to say to whoever has her or knows where she is that it's never too late. And you're not lost or alone. And it is never too late to do the right thing. And we are here. And we believe. And we believe in the essential goodness of every human being. And it's never too late.
Investigators have so far not indicated any big break in the case, but the FBI says there have been strong definitive updates. A spokesperson for the FBI told the Epoch Times yesterday that a glove found near Guthrie's home appears to match one worn by a suspect seen in footage from the doorbell camera. The FBI says the found glove contains DNA, and they are waiting for results from forensic testing. The county sheriff's department says investigators collected DNA from Nancy Guthrie's home that doesn't belong to Guthrie or those in close contact with her. They are working to identify who it belongs to. Based on the doorbell camera footage, authorities have described the suspect as a man about 5'9" to 5'10" with an average build. The FBI also said he was wearing a 25-liter Ozark Trail Hiker backpack. The Bureau has announced a $100,000 reward for information that could lead to Nancy Guthrie's recovery or the arrest and conviction of a suspect. Guthrie has been missing from her Arizona home since January 31st. Since then, several media outlets have received alleged ransom notes from an abductor. However, despite several pleas from the family, no one has been in touch.
The FBI is asking anyone with information concerning the case to call 1-800-CALL-FBI. That's 1-800-225-5324. Tips can also be submitted online at tips.fbi.gov. Now, former President Barack Obama wants to make it clear that he's never seen an alien. That comes after comments he made on a podcast went viral over the weekend. Speaking to host Brian Tyler Cohen, Obama answered a question about aliens by saying, "They're real, but I haven't seen them." He went on to say the only way they're being held is if it's so secret even the president doesn't know. The clip went viral on social media, and now Obama is clarifying. He said what he meant was that he personally believes the odds are good that there are aliens out there somewhere. He reiterated that he never saw any evidence they have made contact with us during his presidency. Social media platform X is down for thousands of users in the US and the UK this morning. According to Down Detector, more than 23,000 incidents were reported around 8 a.m. Eastern. Down Detector tracks outages using user-submitted reports and other resources. X did not immediately respond to requests for comment. The actual number of affected users may differ from the figures shown online. Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban in Budapest today. The two signed a civilian nuclear cooperation agreement backed by President Trump. NTD's Daniel Monahan has key takeaways.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the U.S. and Hungary are entering a golden era of mutual relations.
And not simply because of the alignment of our people, but because of the relationship that you have with the President of the United States.
Trump has endorsed Orban ahead of Hungary's April elections, praising his stance on illegal immigration. Orban and his Fidesz party are facing their most serious challenge in the April 12th vote since he retook power in 2010. Rubio also addressed the Geneva talks on the Russia-Ukraine war scheduled for tomorrow and Wednesday. The talks include Russia, Ukraine, and the United States.
We're the only nation on earth that apparently can get both sides to the table to talk. I'm not here to insult anybody, but the United Nations hasn't been able to do it. There's no other country in Europe that's been able to do it.
Rubio says the U.S. is just trying to play a role in reaching a deal if possible.
We're not seeking to impose a deal on anybody. We're not trying to force anyone to take a deal they don't want to take.
The Secretary of State says he perceives a double standard in how the peacemaking efforts of President Trump are being treated.
Usually when you're trying to end wars, the international community applauds you. This is one of the few wars I've ever seen where some people in the international community condemn you.
Rubio also addressed Trump's visit to China in April.
It's got 1 billion something people, second largest economy in the world. They have nuclear weapons. It would be crazy. Okay, it's insane for the United States and China not to have relations and interact with one another. Now, two big countries like this, do we have differences? We absolutely do.
Secretary of State Rubio's stop in Budapest follows his visit to Slovakia yesterday, after previously attending the Munich Security Conference in Germany. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
The Secretary of State says making a deal with Iran will be difficult. During his visit to Budapest, Rubio said it's difficult because the country is led by clerics who are, quote, making theological decisions, not geopolitical ones. Take a listen.
Look, doing a deal with Iran is not easy. I said it yesterday, I'll repeat it again today. I mean, we have to understand that Iran ultimately is governed and its decisions are governed by Shia clerics, radical Shia clerics, okay? These people make policy decisions on the basis of pure theology. That's how they make their decisions. So it's hard to do a deal with Iran. We've always said it's hard, but we're going to try. That's what the president is trying. I'm not going to prejudge those talks. I'm certainly not going to negotiate with Iran here in front of the press and on the stage. Our negotiators are on their way there now. They'll have meetings. We'll see what happens.
Rubio spoke as Iran's top diplomat met with the head of the UN nuclear watchdog agency in Geneva today. That's ahead of a second round of negotiations with the United States over Tehran's nuclear program. Meanwhile, over the weekend, President Trump said members of the new Board of Peace pledged more than $5 billion for the Gaza Strip. NTD's Jason Perry has the update.
Over the weekend, the Israel Defense Forces released this video of what they said were armed terrorists emerging from a tunnel near Israeli troops in the Gaza Strip. Israel said they struck 2 of those terrorists and then launched strikes on other terrorists throughout the Gaza Strip for what Israel said was in response to an alleged ceasefire violation. A man at a funeral in the Gaza Strip on Sunday, whose son was reportedly killed by an Israeli airstrike, said this about the newly established Board of Peace.
Do you believe that there is a Board of Peace? Do you believe that U.S. President Donald Trump would come to help us or defend us, the one who is supplying Israel with all sorts of deadly weapons?
However, on the same day, President Trump said in a post on Truth Social that members of the Board of Peace have pledged more than $5 billion toward reconstruction and humanitarian efforts for the Gaza Strip. This comes as Trump recently ordered a second aircraft carrier group to the Middle East amid ongoing talks with Iran over a nuclear deal. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said President Trump prefers diplomacy over military action against Iran.
Now, we're dealing with radical Shia clerics, okay? We're dealing with people who make
geopolitical decisions on the basis of pure theology, and it's a complicated thing. I mean, no one's ever been able to do a successful deal with Iran, but we're going to try. Steve Woodcock and Jared Kushner will be traveling. I think they're traveling right now to have important meetings, and we'll see how that turns out.
And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said this on Sunday about a possible nuclear deal between the U.S. and Iran.
There shall be no enrichment capability, not stopping the enrichment process, but dismantle the equipment and the infrastructure that allows you to enrich in the first place.
In another development, the U.S. military said they conducted 10 strikes against more than 30 ISIS terrorist targets in Syria over the past 2 weeks. Jason Perry, NTD News.
The European Union Commissioner will travel to Washington this week to attend the Board of Peace meeting. She will take part as an observer. A spokesperson today said the Commission is not becoming a member of the Board of Peace. He added that the EU is taking part because of its long-standing commitment to implementing the ceasefire in Gaza. And the Trump administration is planning to transform how the U.S. sells arms to foreign allies and partners. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and War Secretary Pete Hegseth explaining President Trump's America First arms transfer strategy. In an op-ed on USA Today, Rubio and Hegseth say Trump's executive order helps change how weapons are produced and delivered. They argue that timeliness is key, but there are long waiting lists under today's system. The Trump administration aims to change that by designing exportability into the systems from the very beginning and proactively selling to allies based on what America needs. Rubio and Hegseth say, quote, America needs partners with complementary, not necessarily identical capabilities. They argue Trump's strategy will shorten wait times, create new manufacturing capability, and build resilience across supply chains. Joining us to discuss this is Armen Kurdian, foreign policy and national security analyst. He's also a retired U.S. Navy captain. So Armen, good afternoon. You heard what this administration wants to do just now. Could you walk us through exactly how the changes I talked about earlier that the War Secretary and State Secretary said, how will this change the U.S. And other nations in terms of selling weapons?
Good afternoon, Don. So first of all, the United States has found itself in a place where in the era of complex weapons, it takes a very long time from the moment you even put something on contract to when it is actually delivered, let alone when something is developed. And these timelines have demonstrated a weakness in our acquisition workforce and our acquisition industrial base, because we can expend weapons very, very quickly, but it's very, very hard to replace. We can overcome that through economic order quantities by getting our allies to purchase some of these weapons, also help having them participate in the development of some of these things, putting their requirements into some of our weapons so that we can all build one weapon that we can all use. It also makes it easier to sustain and support these kinds of weapons over the long term. Now, by bringing foreign allies into the acquisition system earlier in some of these development programs, it gives them a little bit more of a skin in the game at the same time that we continue to work with the European allies in terms of, the types of mission sets that we need to operate together, the types of operations in various parts of the world that we need to work together, whether it's the European theater, the Middle East, and building those common requirement sets will help facilitate the procurement and the manufacture of these weapons. But there is still some work to be done in the industrial base in order to make that happen.
Okay, so let me ask you a rather fundamental question here, Armen. Why is it that so many countries want U.S. weapons? Because Rubio and Hegseth say that U.S. weapon sales remain at an all-time high with 43% of the global market share.
Frankly, it's because as challenging as our industrial base is, the European allies have even greater challenges at the same time. The U.S. builds the best weapons, we have the best missiles, we have the best aircraft, we have the best logistics and sustainment capacities. Frankly, I think a lot of Americans need to understand that while we have a big technological edge in weaponry over our adversaries, what is the biggest game changer and what is the biggest advantage we have is our ability to sustain and support those weapons over the long term. China, Russia, even the European allies don't have the ability to sustain long-term combat operations or support our weapons as much as we do. And our system certainly isn't perfect, and a lot of weaknesses have come to light over the last several years. So that is a big reason why the allies still want to be part of a lot of our foreign military sales. Plus, at the same time, it relieves them of the development cost. And as I said, when you have more countries buying the same kind of weapon, it drives down the overall cost. And we've seen that to some degree, for example, with the F-35, or with our armored personnel carriers, or with tanks, or even with howitzers and simpler weapons, or even vehicles. This is a truism of economics, and it's just as true in acquisition as it is in the commercial space.
So you said earlier that the U.S.'s weapons have a clear edge over other countries' weapons. How big is that edge? And do you think it's worth it for countries to wait sometimes, years apparently, before actually getting their hands on those weapons?
Well, it's a clear edge, but it's also a very expensive edge when you look at GPS or precision navigation. When you look at energetics, when you look at alloys and scientific technology that we put into our weapons. Maintaining that edge, submarines, it doesn't matter what aspect of warfare it is very, very expensive. But we've seen the efficacy of U.S. weapons on the battlefield, especially when going head to head with other adversaries. And you can't really put a price, maybe you can put a price on it, this price of a soldier or an airman or a sailor in terms of how much it actually costs to develop and train that individual. But beyond that is, of course, the intangible about human life and the amount of lives that can be saved through technology. We've seen throughout history that countries, even if they have their industrial base, this happened to Germany in the Second World War, they were still able to produce weapons at a rapid pace towards the end of that war, but they'd lost all their people. Same was true with Japan. They'd lost all their senior airmen, they lost all their experienced people. You cannot replace expertise nearly as fast as you can replace weapons. So that is something that it basically it drives the technology, because the faster you can complete a war, the faster you can complete a military objective, to the extent that you're not losing some of your own forces or some of your own people, is a big component of military success on the battlefield.
So what would it mean if allies shifted to other non-U.S. suppliers for these weapons?
Well, if they did, I think they would quickly learn that perhaps that it's not in their best interest to do so, and they eventually always come back to us to work. Foreign military sales, you see FMS ingrained on all of our program offices and all the services. You see foreign representatives, even foreign military as well, who are operating with us in our program offices. You have representatives from other countries who are over here representing their interests at the same time. It's not to say that there may not be some times where a foreign country has a better missile. The U.S. has bought foreign equipment at the same time. We sometimes we go and say, hey, this works really well for us. We can this meets our requirements. The sustainment works, and maybe we have a logistics facility built in the U.S. to sustain these weapons that are built overseas, and that it actually works. So it can be a two-way street at the same time. But ultimately, a lot of these countries, you might consider, you might want to make a political decision in terms of buying a weapon from one country versus another. But at the end of the day, you've got to support your military, and that's why they keep coming back to the U.S.
So, Armin, I just want to ask you one more question. How do we shorten that wait time? Is it difficult? And how does Trump's America First arms transfer strategy, which he signed as an executive order, how does that fit into all this?
It requires a lot of things, Don. It requires investment in facilities, investment in manpower, investment in scientific technology, investment of the industrial base. There's a lot of things that we need to do. Ultimately, I like calling it the infinite dollar problem. If you say you have an infinite amount of money and I want to buy as many, say, missiles as I possibly can, or as many tanks as I possibly can, what's the next bottleneck or the or blockage in terms of how many I can actually buy? And in terms of our industrial base, our major primes, they want to know that there is actually a level demand kind of going forward. They don't like demand, say, I'm buying 100 this year, 100 next year, 1,000 the next year, and then 100 the next year. That doesn't work for them. So it also involves the U.S. working with those primes in order to make it easier for them to actually go and build. At the same time, reducing a lot of the overhead burden that they got to deal with. So there is a lot involved with making it happen. And right now, under this Secretary of War, they are looking very hard. It is priority number one to accelerate and streamline the acquisition workforce, the acquisition industrial base, in order to make that happen.
Okay, Armin, thank you so much for speaking with us today. Very good.
Thanks, Don.
The U.S. government conducts the first ever air transportation of a nuclear microreactor. What officials say this could mean for the future of domestic nuclear power. The future of the Hudson Tunnel project is still in jeopardy. President Trump on what he plans to do about the project. We have more news after this break.
I have traveled all over the world to 50 countries now, and I have never seen a production any better than this anywhere.
Breathtaking. It is absolutely stunning.
It's so uplifting.
I feel better about the world.
It was encouraging, gave me hope.
It was absolutely amazingly divine.
I thought I was going to heaven.
You have to come see it.
Multiple times.
It's worth every penny.
Make sure you see it. Make sure you see it.
Returns to David Koch Theater, March 25th through April 12th. Shenyun.com.
Hi, my name is Brady. When I was born, my parents thought everything was okay. My mom and dad were so excited to take me home.
I still get goosebumps telling this story. Several days in, his skin started to become very cold and clammy. We noticed that he had become blue around his mouth, and something was just very off.
We packed up as fast as we could. Brady stopped breathing twice on the way to the pediatrician. And that was one of the number one things that just haunts me to this day.
I was born with a congenital heart defect called aortic coarctation. If my parents waited just one more hour to drive me to the hospital, I would not be here today. But thanks to research funded by the American Heart Association, I had heart surgery that saved my life. But not every kid is as lucky as me, which is why we need your help. Just call the number on the screen or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help. Get people trained in CPR. Get more hospitals certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. And help fund the next medical breakthroughs to help save kids like me.
When you donate to the American Heart Association, you're helping save lives like my son. And now, my son is happy and healthy, thanks to the support of people like you.
When you call with your $19 a month, you'll get this really cool t-shirt as a thank you. Many children die from congenital heart defects. I can't wait to grow up to become a heart surgeon and fix babies' hearts, but until then, I'll keep helping the American Heart Association. So please join me. Just call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org to become a monthly donor and help save lives.
Did you know that the Presidential Savings Event is going on now at Mathis Home? Hundreds of items have been marked down, like this oversized down-fill sofa for just $9.99. It's a great combination of scale, comfort, and value. And like many of the sofas here, it's customizable. Choose from hundreds of fabric options and pay the same low price. There's also many different configurations to choose from. Come see why we're your furniture leader during the Presidential Savings Event at Mathis Home.
The future of the Hudson Tunnel project is still in jeopardy. President Trump today opposing the $16 billion commuter rail project linking Manhattan and New Jersey as it currently stands. In a Truth Social post, the president says the project will cost many billions of dollars more than projected or anticipated. He said it will be financially catastrophic for the region unless hard work and proper planning is done to avoid insurmountable future cost overruns. Trump's post reads, quote, "Under no circumstances will the federal government be responsible for any cost overruns, not $1. But he adds that the federal government is willing to meet to make sure cost overruns don't happen. Last week, the Trump administration released $30 million of the frozen $205 million in federal funding for the project. That came after New York and New Jersey sued to challenge Trump's previous funding freeze. Now, here's a fun fact for you. Today is actually not President's Day. The official name for the holiday is Washington's birthday. The government considered changing it, but that never happened. Despite that, it became popularly known as President's Day. Most people now consider it a time to also honor other former presidents, including Abraham Lincoln. The modern calendar puts Washington's birth on February 22nd. A 1971 law places the holiday on the third Monday of the month. A potential new milestone in America's nuclear energy landscape. The Departments of Energy and War yesterday, for the first time, transporting a nuclear microreactor by plane from California to Utah.
Powering next-generation warfare will require us to move faster than our adversaries. To build a system that doesn't just equip our warfighters to fight, but equips them to win at extraordinary speed. Today is a monumental step towards building that system.
We went 40 or 50 years without building much in the nuclear space, and from executive orders only about 12 months ago, before July 4 of this year, we will have multiple nuclear reactors critical. That's speed, that's innovation, that's the start of a nuclear renaissance.
The agencies partnered with California-based Valor Atomics to fly one of the company's Ward microreactors on a C-17 aircraft without nuclear fuel. The Department of War saying before the flight, the successful delivery and the installation of the reactor will unlock significant possibilities for the future of energy resilience and strategic independence. President Trump last May issued 4 executive orders aimed at boosting domestic nuclear deployment to meet growing energy demands for national security and AI, aimed at strengthening American nuclear energy capability. Secretary Wright said Trump's executive orders have reduced obstacles in pushing American energy development forward. 2 high-profile detransitioner lawsuits are now headed for trial in early 2027. Chloe Cole received hormones and a double mastectomy at 15 years old. She is set for trial in April of next year. She is suing Kaiser Foundation hospitals and other providers, saying she suffered irreversible harm. Kaiser has previously said it followed medical standards of what it called gender-affirming care. Attorney Mark Trammell of the Center for American Liberty represents Cole and Luca Hine. Hine has a separate case against the University of Nebraska Medical Center and others. The cases build on last month's $2 million jury verdict in New York for Fox Varian. A surgeon and psychologist were found liable in that ruling for malpractice. One example was laid out in an October 2019 letter the psychologist wrote to the surgeon in support of Valerian's surgery. It contained errors and omitted coexisting mental issues, including autism and depression. Ultra-processed foods are under scrutiny by the Trump administration. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says the government will act on a petition calling for closer scrutiny of the food products. But the health secretary stopped short of promising new regulations. NTD's Daniel Monahan reports.
The FDA will consider a petition to revoke the safety status of dozens of processed refined carbohydrates. That is, unless food companies can prove they are safe and not contributing to health issues and obesity. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says something has gone wrong in the United States food supply, speaking on CBS's 60 Minutes. The petition targets the so-called grass loophole, which was enacted by Congress in 1958. It has allowed the use of ingredients without a full government safety review because it lets food companies verify the safety of those items. The Consumer Brands Association says there's no agreed-upon scientific definition of ultra-processed foods. It says companies adhere to what it calls rigorous evidence-based safety standards to deliver what it calls safe, affordable, and convenient products. Meanwhile, former boxing heavyweight champion Mike Tyson had some advice for people to combat chronic disease and obesity, telling them to walk more and to be active.
And as time goes on, you do more and more, and you be more consistent with it. And it's not about how much you do, it's about the consistency.
Health Secretary Kennedy has stopped short of saying he would call for more government regulations. He says the government's job is to make sure the public is informed so everybody understands what they're getting. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Oscar-winning actor Robert Duvall has died. According to a statement sent by his public relations agency on behalf of his wife, Duvall died peacefully at his home in Virginia on Sunday. Duvall had an acclaimed screen career that spanned 6 decades. He was best known for The Godfather, Apocalypse Now, and many other tough guy roles. The family said that those who wish to honor his memory are encouraged to do so in a way that reflects the life he lived. by watching a great film, telling a good story with friends, or taking a drive in the countryside to appreciate the world's beauty. He was 95 years old. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told European leaders that Washington is not walking away from their alliance. We analyze his speech at the Munich Security Conference after this break.
In times of uncertainty, technology for humanity matters more than ever. Ganjing World utilizes technologies to promote kindness, respect, and trust among people. Subscribe to GJW Plus. Enjoy over 10,000 movies and shows. Ganjing Kids, the #1 safe platform, value-based learning and fun for kids. Be part of technology for humanity. Subscribe now.
This is how I keep my joints happy.
Omega XL is a powerful natural supplement backed by 40 years of clinical research. Take control of your pain, like Cynthia Bailey.
My knees in particular started giving me pain issues all the way back to my modeling days, from just running through airports, photo shoots. After taking Omega XL, I really started to notice how less stiff I was, especially my knees and my hip. Has Omega XL changed my life? Yes. I barely notice my joint pain anymore. Now I'm like literally sprinting through the airports. My secret is Omega XL.
Pick up the phone and call now to get this exclusive TV offer. Buy one Omega XL and we'll send you a second bottle absolutely free. You'll also get a free bottle of Vitamin XL D3. Buy one, get two free. A total value of over $115, all for just $49.95. You save more than 55% and shipping is free. Backed by a money-back guarantee and is not available in stores. Operators are standing by, so call now.
I trod on my glasses yesterday, and I had to pay up front for a new pair that I can't even pick up for another 10 days. So I looked for another way, and I found Select Specs. I ordered online. My new glasses just arrived this morning, and I can pay over the next few weeks. This is the way to buy glasses.
See now, pay later with Select Specs. Next day delivery and deferred payment options. Only at selectspecs.com.
Whispered across generations, a hidden secret unveils the essence of longevity and vitality. A timeless legend regarding energy and wonder. Rooted in ancient health wisdom, we proudly introduce Pure Tang Black Ginseng, a 100% natural organic energy drink made from premium 6-year-old Korean ginseng. It takes 2,260 days and nights from seed to growth, undergoing a meticulous 9-step process of steaming and drying. Black ginseng reaches its full potency, enriched with ginsenoside RG3 and enhanced absorption efficiency. No sugar, no caffeine, no artificial ingredients. Experience the pure natural power of Pure Tang Black Ginseng. Nourish your body, strengthen your immunity, and boost your energy. To order Pure Tang Black Ginseng, please visit puretang.com.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio told the European leaders that Washington is not walking away from their alliance. Joining us to discuss is London-based economist Daniel Lacalle. He's an international financial analyst and author of the book Freedom or Equality. Daniel, good afternoon. So Rubio says U.S. and Europe belong together and wants a Western revival. And some people are calling the speech, and this is a quote, without fear, without reservation, and without apology. So let me ask you, what did you think of Rubio's speech, Daniel?
I thought, thank you very much, Don. I thought that the speech was extremely important, and I think it was inspiring, and at the same time, very important in terms of the messages given to the authorities in Europe. It was a warning, but at the same time, it was a call for embrace and a call for collaboration, and a very distinct message that separates this view that is often repeated in the European Union about an adversarial US administration from the reality, which is obviously that the US administration wants Europe to thrive because both the United States and Europe together can thrive and reach the best of the joint possibilities. However, I think that unfortunately, many European bureaucrats took it in a negative perspective, which is obviously uncalled for when it's clearly a message of hope. It was clearly an inspiring and very, very realistic speech from Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
Okay, so let's go into some of the specifics here. You said it was a realistic speech. So Rubio said about a world without borders is a dangerous delusion. He says it's a foolish idea that ignores human nature. Daniel, why is it a foolish idea?
Well, it is a foolish idea because, first, it is a complete nonsense. When some people in the European Union and in the West talk about a world without borders, no one is listening. Almost 80% of the countries in the world continue to have very strict immigration policies. So when they talk about a world without borders, they're only talking about mass immigration into European and Western countries that ultimately lead to the demolition of the welfare state. Oh, you cannot, and this is something that Mr. Rubio said very, very clearly, is that immigration policy is an integral part of state policy. It's part of national security. You cannot just say that immigration is something that does not have to be managed. Particularly interestingly, when you see so many leaders that want to control everything except immigration, no? And what has been proven in Denmark, in France, in so many countries, is that mass immigration leads to worse public accounts, leads to large deficits, leads to very unsustainable welfare spending, and furthermore, it leads to social unrest because the people that pay are angry and the people that receive are also angry because they are releged to be in ghettos like dependents of classes.
So that's a very interesting point that you made, that these countries are restricting everything except immigration, which leads to my next point. Rubio said that Western countries are weakening themselves with restrictive energy policies. Talk to us about this.
Yeah. Well, I think what Mr. Rubio said was something that everybody now has to acknowledge, is that now with the rise of technology, with the needs of energy from artificial intelligence, with all of the things that we know, it is completely ridiculous to start putting brakes and limits to technologies. We need every technology. We need oil and gas. We need renewables. We need nuclear. So it makes no sense to see these energy policies in the European Union in which at the same time they're saying that they don't want to develop their natural gas resources, but they're paying 3 times more for natural gas imported from Russia. That they talk about how they love renewables, but they don't want to mine copper and they don't want to mine lithium, etc. It's just nonsense. It's just nonsense. I call it PowerPoint energy policy. It has completely demolished the industry in the European Union, and what Marco Rubio said echoes, interestingly, what is now becoming a bigger voice in the European Union. It's been said by Merz, it's been said by Meloni, it's been said by the Polish, by the Dutch, and also by the Hungarian presidents. We need to be aware of the needs to have an energy policy that is focused on reliability, security, and affordability. And currently, the European Union energy policy does not follow any of those principles.
So, Daniel, earlier you said some European lawmakers took the speech negatively, but according to Rubio, he said the U.S. actually prefers to work with Europe. So let me ask you this. Why is a strong U.S.-Europe relationship mutually beneficial?
Oh, it's mutually beneficial because both economic regions share the same economic principles, share the same values, share a common way of looking at international and national institutions, at the financial system, the open trade, the same view about democracy, about limiting power of governments and having all the different elements that separate powers in Western democracies. So those are elements that allow countries to trade together and to be stronger together. What is completely ridiculous is, and he mentioned it in the speech, is to believe that you're going to be able to manage a relationship with countries that have completely different rules and that end up advancing against your national interest by taking advantage of the Western rules. So what he said, I think that both in energy, in security, and in immigration is now something that more and more voices in the European Union are acknowledging. And that's why he got a standing ovation, even though there were two European Union officials that did not like what he said. But what he said, unfortunately, is that it's so evident is in the stagnation of the European Union, in the lack of leadership in technology, in the lack of leadership in energy, and also with the loss of competitiveness and the worsening of the environment, both for technology, but also for industry.
Okay, so you briefly brought up the United Nations, and this is a point I want to end today's conversation on. What was your reaction when Rubio essentially made the point in his speech that international institutions like the UN is effectively irrelevant today because it played virtually no role in Gaza and it could not solve the war in Ukraine? Your reaction to that?
Well, I think what he was saying was what everybody acknowledges, is that the United Nations has stopped being an international entity that will defend the values of peace and prosperity globally. It has become, it's almost like the Eurovision contest in which the countries that have the worst songs vote with each other and they always win. It doesn't make any sense. What is happening in the United Nations is ludicrous. We have seen countries that kill LGBT people. We have seen countries that torture and hang women leading the Human Rights Council. It's just ridiculous what we're seeing in the United Nations. So what Marco Rubio is saying is something that we are witnessing all over the world, which is, okay, the United Nations has failed, the World Trade Organization has failed, both have become almost subsidiaries of Chinese economic and strategic policy. Therefore, what we need to do is to bring back the rules-based order that comes from the alignment of economies and nations, the Western nations, that may disagree on some principles and some views, like he said in the speech. Yes, we can disagree on some elements, but we have a common ground that is much stronger than the things that separate us.
And just to your point, Daniel, we have to also question, how did China, the CCP, get into the Human Rights Council for the UN? But anyway, we'll leave it there for today. We can have this conversation another time. But Daniel, thank you so much for speaking with us today.
Thank you very much. Great pleasure.
A former Ukrainian energy minister now accused of laundering millions of dollars of kickbacks. That's one day after he was detained in a corruption case that has sparked a political crisis last November. Here are the details.
Former Ukrainian energy minister German Halushenko was accused on Monday of laundering millions of dollars of kickbacks in a major graft probe that has shaken the country's wartime government. He was detained while trying to leave the country, anti-corruption authorities had said on Sunday, without naming Halushenko at the time. He had served as energy minister from 2021 to 2025. He was justice minister when he was forced to resign last November amid the fallout over the scandal. Halushenko is now one of the most senior officials detained in the so-called Midas case over an alleged $100 million kickback scheme at the state nuclear company. The news comes as the country struggles to keep the heat on for its residents in winter amid Russian attacks targeting Ukraine's energy systems. In a statement on Monday, the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine said Halushenko was, quote, exposed for money laundering and participation in a criminal organization. It said more than $7 million had been transferred to foreign accounts, naming Halushenko's wife and 4 children as beneficiaries. Some was spent on elite schools in Switzerland for the children, and some was put in a deposit for the family to spend, the agency said. Halushenko has denied wrongdoing. He did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The Midas case has ensnared a number of senior officials and business elites. It sparked a political scandal last year, leading to the ouster of President Volodymyr Zelensky's chief of staff and fueling new public anger at lingering corruption as Ukraine fights Russia in its 4-year war. It has also caused concern among Kyiv's Western allies. Battling corruption is a key priority in Ukraine's reform efforts as it works to gain membership of the European Union.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer continues a push to gain more control over the internet. He said, today all AI chatbots must be held to account.
One of the difficulties here is that the technology moves on so quickly that the legislation struggles to keep up, which is why for AI bots, for example, and chatbots, we need to take the necessary measures. So that's the one route.
The Prime Minister yesterday said he is seeking broader powers to regulate internet access, which he said was needed to protect children from fast-changing digital risks. Britain's government said last month it would consult on an Australian-style social media ban for children under 16. Spain, Greece, Slovenia have said they plan bans as well. More AI chatbots will also be covered by a ban on creating sexualized images without the subject's consent. Chinese AI systems are heavily censoring Falun Gong. That's according to a new report from the Australian Strategic Policy Institute. Study found that major Chinese-developed models produced 0 responses in Chinese. They also produced far fewer English responses on Falun Gong than nearly any other topic that is sensitive. The report shows these systems not only refuse to answer but also distort narratives, and they echo Chinese Communist Party propaganda by framing Falun Gong as a public threat. Falun Gong is a peaceful meditation practice based on the values of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. Researchers warn this pattern demonstrates how AI is being weaponized to export censorship and political influence beyond China's borders. China is already the world's largest exporter of AI surveillance technologies. Experts say democratic societies must adopt safeguards to protect free expression and prevalent authoritarian messaging from spreading through AI tools globally. In the heart of Rome, a Renaissance palace guards its secrets. Now a museum, it unveils ancient treasures once owned by the city's noble families. We'll step inside and uncover the history after this break.
Disasters are not a matter of if, but when. And they're happening in communities like ours more often.
Even before disaster strikes, hunger is already a crisis in America. But a disaster tests the very heart of who we are as a community. Food is scarce. But it's in these moments of crisis that our strength shines through. Because as neighbors, we lead the way forward. Please join with Feeding America, and let's be there for families in crisis. Call or go online to givetofeedingamerica.org. Just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day. Rushes food, water, and urgent supplies into communities just like yours.
They called us immediately and said, what can we do?
It's those partnerships that come together and respond to recovery.
Feeding America works with local food banks to get immediate relief to families as they recover. And we stay for as long as it takes. Because disasters don't wait. And neither do we.
They delivered a truckload of food to us to undergird what we had.
Every box of food, every bottle of water, shows the power of neighbors being there for each other. When we work together, we are never alone. Call or donate online at givetofeedingamerica.org. Your gift will be so much more than a donation. It will be a filling meal for a child, comfort for a family in crisis.
We need to be there for our community,
for the next 40 years, just like we were for the last 40 years. And that's helping people build back in a way that is as strong as possible.
Please call or go online and give right now. With your monthly gift, we'll send you this exclusive canvas bag as a reminder of the hope you're delivering.
We're definitely here during the storm, and we're going to be here long after the storm.
But we need your support to continue being there for your community, for you, and for every family facing a crisis. Please call or go online to givetofeedingamerica.org and make your urgent gift today.
For the first time ever, we're bringing you MyPillow mattresses and mattress toppers for as low as $99.98. Remember, sleep's all about temperature and pressure points. Whatever sleep needs you have, we have the right technology for you. Like our MyPillow mattress topper, our queen size has over 10,000 individual comfort supports to help relieve your pressure points. And how about our 3-inch Hybrid Plus mattress topper? It's infused with copper and silver to help your body get the restorative sleep it needs. And our MyPillow and Case Coil mattresses, I personally helped develop these mattresses to make sure they have everything needed to give us great sleep. Plus, they're made right here in the USA, and they ship right to your front door absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to get MyPillow mattresses and toppers for as low as $99.98 and free shipping.
A Renaissance palace turned museum in Rome is displaying ancient artifacts that once belonged to the city's noble families. Close to some of Rome's most iconic landmarks, the pieces remain tucked away from the hustle and bustle of the Italian capital. NTD's Andrew Thomas has more.
The Colosseum, Trevi Fountain, and Spanish Steps are just a few of Rome's famous sites. Among the landmarks, Roman antiquities sit quietly in Palazzo al Temps. Tourist Francesca Sabatini was surprised by the calm atmosphere.
It's crazy. It's like a hidden gem in the middle of Rome. We're right next to Piazza Navona, and there's 2 people in the museum with us. So it's a beautiful break, a beautiful parenthesis in the heart of the city.
In a large square courtyard, statues rest in arches around the perimeter. Inside, the Palazzo al Temps houses collections of antiquities from several Italian noble families. Museum director Chiara Giobbe explains how the museum shows a different side of Rome.
When you cross the threshold of the museum, you enter into this relaxing and beautiful atmosphere, so it can be a chance to stop and enjoy the beauty of the ornamentation and the works, and breathe in the art and culture outside of the usual well-known and traveled tourist routes.
The museum hosts ancient sculptures discovered over the centuries. Excavations in Rome have recovered the statue of Ares, the Greek god of war, with the baby Eris playing around his ankles. Another sculpture depicts Hermes. Altogether, there are nearly 1 million artifacts from archaeological digs around the city.
Palazzo al Temps has about 70,000 visitors a year, so it's definitely not a museum that gets a lot of visitors because it's outside of the usual routes of the tour operators. I think when people come to Rome, they go to see just a few monuments and a few important piazzas, and they don't have time to visit everything. So our visitors are, above all, people who are passionate about art history and archaeology.
The artifacts at the museum are frequently loaned to museums around the world. Archaeologists and academics can also apply for special access for their research. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Today is the Lunar New Year's Eve, but celebrations were in full swing yesterday at the new Middletown department store in upstate New York. Local officials were there to watch the lion dance and celebrate with the community.
See New Middletown and the merchants all involved in this celebration, and to be able to bring it right in our downtown is amazing.
And the dancing, the music, it has just been beyond wonderful, beyond beautiful, and so enlightening, and we're just so happy to have such a wonderful store and wonderful culture here down in the downtown area.
Students from the local Northern Arts Academy also put on a performance which featured classical Chinese dance and music. With the growing number of Asian community members in Middletown, the celebration showcased a boost of Chinese culture within the local community. This year celebrates the Year of the Horse, which some say can signify rapid change, fresh opportunities, and personal growth. French police raiding the Arab World Institute in Paris. More on the probe into its former head and ties to Jeffrey Epstein. More news after this break.
According to ancient Chinese medicine, purslane is considered a medicinal herb and is used to help lower cholesterol, improve vascular functions, and prevent diabetes. Perilla seeds can nourish the lungs and spleen. It is used to treat asthma and improve pulmonary functions. Puritang green vegetable omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds from Hwangmae Mountain in South Korea. It contains over 90% of omega-3, 6, 7, and 9, the highest concentration possible without chemical additives. The soft gel is made of natural seaweed. It is 100% organic and vegan. Both adults and children can take it with peace of mind. Ancient recipes were passed down from heaven to bring prosperity and longevity. Puritang green vegetable omega-3.
Shenyun Creations, the streaming platform from Shenyun, featuring world-class dance, past programs, and all original music. Masterclasses, behind the scenes, comedy, and more. Explore shenyuncreations.com.
Even the mighty might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Where did the time go? Somehow I lost all those years. Where did the time go? I don't know how I got here. Oh, how did I get here? I can see now.
You've done the hard part. You quit smoking. Now do the easy part and get scanned for lung cancer. If you smoked, you may still be at risk, but early detection could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org.